Are you ready for rapid fire?
Oh, I didn't know we were getting into this, but yeah, I'm ready for
It is
some
time.
rapid fire.
It is time. The queue is empty. The queue is empty. It's time to go. Fill in the blank. Notre Dame's spring football season has been blank.
Fast. Fast and not overly exciting at the end of the day. All we care about is the quarterbacks. That's all we're going to focus on. And we're still going to argue about it after the spring game. So we might as well just get this thing over with, but at least it's gone by fast. And it's a good way to fill time until the start of next season, because let's be honest, that's what we're all already looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of thinking along the same lines. It has been short and only minimally revelatory. It has been like not much of
Nothing has come
anything.
from it. Like, what have you gained from the start to the end? We don't have any answers.
We
But we're
got
going
Tay
to try to
Johnson.
formulate some
We got
answers.
Tay Johnson, right? Like, we know that he played pretty well. We know that Elijah Burris, kind of nice touchdown pass. Yeah, I mean,
But
not
what
much
does
has
that
come of it.
lead to, though? Because last spring we saw some great wide receiver play, and it didn't lead to anything.
I know.
That's the thing, is you don't know what these things are going to lead to at the end of the day.
That's exactly it. And I think that that's kind of how Marcus Freeman probably
I don't
likes
mind it because it creates the least amount of drama, in my opinion. You know, it's just let them do their thing.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
As long as guys aren't driving their cars 100 miles per hour and crashing them off the interstate, or, you know, doing dumb stuff at parties, as long as they're staying healthy and staying out of trouble and building the 2 to 3 deep roster, go at it, you know?
I agree. Yeah. That's kind of what it is, I guess, you know? Like,
could
all right,
be a lot worse.
Yeah. Jason Onye is back with the Fighting Irish this spring after leaving the team for personal reasons during last season. Fill in the blank. Notre Dame needs blank from Jason Onye this season.
They need consistency out of Jason Onye. Not only consistency, you know, on the field and making plays and that sort of thing, but Jason Onye just needs to be consistent in, you know, his preparation, doing the right things, showing up to practice, having good practices, and then, you know, having good games. Essentially, he needs to consistently be the best version of himself every day and just be focused, because we know the talent is there, we know the skill is there, we know the motor is there. Jason Onye just needs to consistently stay disciplined and be on the field to have an impact.
Consistency is the key to this whole thing. And the last word that you used is also key. Consistency, impact. Like, if we're making our word cloud, he doesn't have to be the best player on the defensive line. He doesn't have to be an All-American, but he just has to be able to go out there, game in and game out, give him what, you know, like 40 snaps, 50 snaps per game, and be an impact player on the defensive line. Do his job,
baby.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Just be that guy who can be counted on game in and game out. You know that he can, you know, still, you know, eat up a lot of real estate and use those long arms when he's, you know, like on the field goal block team, if you want to keep him out there, which what I would imagine you would, considering what he's shown that he can do there. But those extra 15 pounds or so, you know, up tipping the scale close to 310 now, I think that is going to be literally and figuratively huge for him, just because, like, that's what he was really lacking. He was still just like a, you know, like a fast, quick twitch type guy trying to play between the tackles. And I don't think that, you know, he was probably able to eat some of that up, you know, the way that you need to be able to play that position properly. So I just think that he just needs to, consistency is what gets him out there, and be an impact guy when he's on the field as part of that, you know, defensive tackle rotation. And that will go a long way for Notre Dame this season if he can do those things.
Agreed.
So here is Marcus Freeman on linebacker Jaylen Sneed.
I think I'll say this, that this is the best spring in my 4 years being here with my 4 years with Jaylen, because he came in early. This is the best spring he's had. I mean, he is, you know, when he decided to come back and you know, say, hey, I want to have my last year here at Notre Dame, and he's been committed to doing the little things that it takes to be a great player. And that's kind of what I talked to him about is, he's got every option in the world. You can go somewhere else. You go try to go to the NFL. If you're going to come back here to get your degree and to be the best football player you can be, there's things you got to be committed to, and his weight is a part of that. But he's practiced at a level in terms of the fundamentals, the details, the energy that it takes to be a great player. Right? He's got great talent. Now he's starting to become a great player and put it all together. And it's just credit to him for putting in the work that it takes to be that. And now he's got to continuously do that every day. Right? Like, nobody cares what you did today, tomorrow. Right? And so he's shown since he really the winter semester, the spring semester, he's really shown to be committed to that. And so I'm really pleased, and I look forward to the next couple practices, next couple weeks on what he continues to do.
A lot of detail there on the Jaylen Sneed answer, some interesting stuff. And like Jason Onye, he's put on some good weight this spring as well. So my question, Jess, what would a fully actualized Jaylen Sneed mean for the Irish this season?
I think a fully actualized Jaylen Sneed this season would make them the most, or not the most, but I would comfortably say a top 5 linebacker core in the nation, inside linebacker core in the nation. Between him and Drake Bowen, I think you could say that they would have one of the best linebacker tandems in the entire country. And it just helps not only like what that does, not only for them defensively, but like the number one thing I think of is he is so fast at playing in space. And I remember watching some of those playoff games, and if he can get down the run game and specifically kind of the outside zone off the tackle where he reads it and just beats the guy to the spot and sets the edge and allows the entire defense to kind of swarm because now the running back has to cut back into the teeth of the defense. Like, that's what a fully actualized Jaylen Sneed is, because the defense just becomes so just fast, dynamic, shut down. Like you can't really do much against Notre Dame when they're stopping you like that in the run, and they have, a great secondary on the back end as well. So it's just like, it just takes their defense, and especially perimeter run defense, to a whole nother level, because we know how good he is in space. But when you can cut down those outside running lanes because you have fast inside linebackers, it just helps tremendously.
And that's, I guess, first off, like, hats off to him, because like Marcus Freeman said, he had options. He could have gone someplace else. He could have transferred. And we were talking earlier in the show about, do some of these Notre Dame guys realize that the grass isn't always greener, when they head someplace else? And Jaylen Sneed didn't go someplace else. He stayed here. He stuck it out. He kept working every year to get a little bit better every year. He's got a little bit bigger role every year. Still probably, took him longer to get to some of these roles than he would have thought that he, would coming out of high school. And a lot of fans thinking that as well. Again, going back to star ratings and things like that. But, he's in a place now going into his senior year where he is much closer to fully actualized. And you hit all the, the right notes. And like, we saw him the other day do exactly what you're talking about, playing that inside linebacker spot and quickly diagnosing, what was a run play, out to the perimeter, and he cut it off, snuffed it out fast, and just the explosiveness that he's able to get there with, and made a tackle for loss in the backfield. If he can do that, that was one of the areas, I think, as you've talked about before. Like, if you were looking at a weakness of Notre Dame's defense last year, it was, cutting some of that stuff off on the perimeter. Yep, that's exactly right. And that's exactly, what he was able to do. So that would just be massive for both him and for Notre Dame if he's able to get to that point this year. And I mean, that's, like you said, him and Drake Bowen playing next to each other, just the speed and athleticism they've got and their ability. We know Bowen, like with the, the ability to diagnose and the fits and all those things, that's been, there more consistently for him. But if Sneed's there as well, then, I mean, we're not even talking about Kingston Viliamawasa yet. And he's part of that as well. So talk about a freaking killer linebacking core, if that comes to fruition. Going back to Jason Onye, were his personal issues bad grades?
No speculation here.
They were not bad grades, but we're not gonna play the game where you keep throwing out guesses and we say yes or no. We're just like, it's somebody. There's a story about Jason Onye that's up at Irish Breakdown right now that I wrote, and it's on the Champions Lounge as well. And someone said, all these people heaping all this praise on him, but we still don't know, what his, quote unquote personal issues were. Well, we do. It's just that we're not allowed to talk about it, because if Jason Onye wants it out there, he'll talk about it. It's his story to tell. So if he wants to talk about it at some point, we haven't had the opportunity to talk to him this spring. If he wants to talk about it in time, he'll talk about it. But until then, we're not going to, again, we know what happened. We're not going to talk about it until it becomes public, because he wants it to become public. So that's kind of the direction that we're going to go with that. Okay, some women's basketball. Buy or sell. Olivia Miles' decision to stay in college to get a big payday rather than be a high WNBA draft pick is good for women's basketball. You buy or sell that, Jess?
I can't believe you're throwing this question out there. It's like throwing salt on the wound a little bit. It's like kind of like poking the bear a little bit here. If I'm getting technical, it is not good for the game of basketball. It's obviously good for Olivia Miles and her kind of maybe, personal interests, but we're talking about the number 2 draft pick. You're obviously good enough to go on and play at the next level of basketball. And I think if you are serious about your career and you're the number 1 or you're the number 2 pick, why would you not go on and start your professional career and challenge yourself and continue to get better? Because I don't think staying this extra year in college is going to better herself in terms of what she can do in the WNBA. I think getting into the WNBA, starting your rookie year, is a better, faster track to end up being a better potential star in the WNBA. But that's just my personal opinion. And so, obviously NIL is going to come into this. The WNBA collective bargaining agreement is going to come into it. I don't think that there's really that much to gain in terms of Olivia Miles' basketball game in college this season. She is better off if she is truly interested in being a professional basketball player than going on to the WNBA. Like, this would be different if she was going to be like a late first round pick or second round pick. No, you're the number 2 pick in the entire class. You're considered the second best player. Like, just go on and be a pro. Start your career.
Wade has the answer, and I agree with this. It's great for college hoops and also
exactly.
for the WNBA. For the WNBA part of it, it's obviously bad because it says that you can't make enough money going to the WNBA and you're better off where the game is right now. But that's why it's also a buy for me, because Olivia Miles was on national TV last night. She was on the NBA on TNT before a men's NBA game talking about it with Candace Parker. TNT doesn't cover women's college basketball. They don't cover the WNBA for that matter. The only college basketball that TNT talks about is, their March Madness coverage, 2.5 weeks out of the year. We were talking about Tania Latson from Florida State earlier, nation's leading scorer. She committed to South Carolina. They didn't have her on, the NBA on TNT last night. We're talking about Miles because she played for Notre Dame, but a majority of the country, what the conversation they're having is this player turned down the chance to be the number 2 pick in the WNBA draft to stay in school for another year. But, again, what most of them are not talking about is the money side of this. And that kind of shocks me, is like, no one really, there's some reference to it, but no one's really talking. It's like, ooh, she stayed in school. She turned down, the WNBA, and now she's going to TCU. They're not talking about the big money aspect of this. And that is obviously the driving force behind all this. She is basically, Olivia Miles, the first big-time women's college basketball free agent. That is ultimately what she is, because this is much more about the money side of this than it is, staying in school, playing college basketball, any of that. If we didn't have NIL and, and the transfer portal, like, this would not be a possibility. what you typically talk about with college players is, are they going to declare early and head to the pros like Joel Lloyd did? You might remember Joel Lloyd only played 3 years at Notre Dame. She was, I believe, the first player to leave early, and not play all 4 years in college. But Miles is staying and making more money. So yes, ultimately, I do think that is good for overall the women's game and also the exposure, that something like this does. So, yeah, I mean, you might not be happy with Olivia Miles and the decision that she made and, leaving Notre Dame and maybe the way she's handled it and all that. And you have every right to believe that. But ultimately, I do think that, again, while it's not great, a great look for the WNBA because of the salary disparity, I do think that ultimately it is good for women's basketball overall. So, Jess, a baseball question for you. Which will happen first, a Florida State national championship or a Notre Dame baseball NCAA tournament berth?
Come on now. Why are you even you're just trying to get people riled up, fired up. Here's the difference. As crazy as it sounds, and it shouldn't be that hard of a feat, Notre Dame baseball does not have Link Jarrett. And it's just a matter of time before he gets that roster or that team back to the College World Series. Like, he did it at Notre Dame. He's gone on and he's had already an impact at Florida State.
He took them there last year. They were in the top 4 at the College World Series last year. So
I just think, he got close with Notre Dame. He's already knocking on the door of Florida State. Here's how I got to put this. And it's crazy. He is closer to a national championship than Notre Dame is to actually making the NCAA tournament.
Right now they are.
Right.
That's for sure. There's
as sad as that sounds. But what is going to happen in the next 3-4 years that's going to drastically turn that for Notre Dame? What do you think if they part ways this season, they're just magically going to be back next season? I still think that would be at least a year to 2 process, even if they did get rid of the coach this season.
Not if you get the right guy. I mean,
yeah,
obviously they caught lightning in a bottle and got very lucky when they hired Link Jarrett, and they thought they were going down that same road again by kind of going down the same path, mid-major guy from the South. But turns out Link Jarrett was a pretty special coach, I think you'd say. He's been to the College World Series with 2 different teams in 2 of the last 3 years,
Yeah.
And you're right. I don't think that there is a quick fix for Notre Dame, but like when you look at where Florida State is right now with Jarrett, they're in 3rd place in the ACC. Notre Dame is dead last, 3-12 in the ACC, behind teams like Pittsburgh and Boston College.
Losing those dang weekday games to Western Michigan.
That's in the last week. They've lost to Western Michigan and Northwestern. You cannot. I realize you don't base everything on midweek games, but man, you can't lose to Western Michigan. I'm sorry. You just can't. They were 9-21 in the ACC last year, and that seemed bad. They're 3-12 right now. Like, I don't know that they get to 9 this year. 9 wins in the ACC. And here's it gets even worse because I went and looked at some of the numbers. Last in batting average in the ACC, a 6.23 ERA, second to last in the ACC, second worst slugging percentage. Their batters, their hitters have struck out the second most in the conference, and their pitchers don't strike anyone out. That's with a head coach who was a pitcher in college and a pitching coach before he became a head coach. So the answer is Florida State winning a national championship by a mile right now. By a mile.
By a long mile. By, as some would say, a country mile.
Yeah. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, they've got 3 wins in the ACC, and 2 of those wins are against 2 of the best teams in the conference, Clemson and Florida State. But obviously, you got to win more than one game. Any team can win a game. You got to win series in the ACC. In any conference, you got to win series. That's what it comes down to. You win series, you're going to be above 500. If if you win a majority of your series, you're at least going to be a 500 team, but they're not even able to do that.
Their head is not above the water.
No, it is far below. Far below.
They got an anchor attached to them, and they're sinking.
That's right. Give me a life jacket.
Man.
Get off the anchor. So Chris Mad Dog Russo did a list.
Ooh, I can't wait for this.
He did a list of the things that he says need to change in sports. So do you want to do his list first, or do you want to do any idea, anything that you would change first?
I got a few, so I think you should start with his first.
Okay.
So you can kind of set the tone here a little bit.
I asked for one. You've got a whole list of your own.
You told me to air out my grievances, and that's what I did.
All right. So here's Chris Mad Dog Russo. Let's take them. You want me to rip through the whole list, and then we'll take them one at a time after that?
Yeah, let's do it.
So he says no game should start after 8 p.m. in the time zone of the event. First round NBA playoff series should only be best of 5 and not best of 7. MLB salary cap with both a ceiling and a floor. And the NFL team with the better record, regardless of if they won their division, should host playoff games. Now, he also had a thing about the PGA and Live Golf, and I really couldn't care less about that, so I left it.
You filtered?
Yes. So no game should start after 8 p.m. in the time zone of the event. This seems like a natural to me. Like he was complaining about, you've got a March Madness game starting at 10:45 in New Jersey, for example. That is unacceptable. Like to be starting games that late, after, I would say even after 8 o'clock, perfect. Time zone of the event. So that means if it's Pacific time, you could start it at 8 o'clock Pacific time, even though that's 11 o'clock Eastern time. But in the time zone of the event, nothing starts after 8 o'clock. Any complaints with that at all?
No complaints with that at all. I think I was complaining about the national championship starting at 9 the other night, but I guess technically it was 8 p.m. in San Antonio. But, I just need, especially in current time zones, you can't be doing that. 10:45 at night on the East Coast, that's when the game is starting.
Ridiculous.
Come on. What are we doing here?
Ridiculous. So the first round playoff series should be best of 5, not best of 7. You good with that?
I'm good with that. And especially with how many games they play and how many series they play. I think that first round, not that it's treated as a wild card, but you want the more 7-game series. I like what baseball does, basically. Like once you get into final, what is it, like 4, I think, or maybe no, not even I think the quarterfinals. Yeah. Once you get into the quarterfinals, that's when it's best of 7, because now we're talking about some of the best teams in the league that have kind of earned the right, in my opinion, to get the fairness of going to full game, 7 games.
Yeah, they actually used to. I don't know. I don't know exactly when they changed it, but there was a time when first round NBA playoff series were best of 5, and then they switched it to 7. And it's funny because Brian Windhorst was on ESPN with Russo when he was going through this list. And Windhorst says the only reason that it's a best of 7 right now is because the NBA can't make it a best of 9. He's like, they want more games. They don't want less games. So I agree. I think best of 5 makes sense. But again, they used to do it that way and they expanded it to best of 7 because of what you're talking about, more TV revenue. That's exactly it. MLB should have a salary cap with both a ceiling and a floor. I am all about this. I think that it is far past time that Major League Baseball goes to this.
I'm not so really worried about a cap. I care more about the floor. I think the game is kind of diluted right now with teams like the Pirates, the Reds, teams that don't go out and actually spend contracts on players. So I think that's and it's just a shame because you have, even the Guardians, a team that is really good and has a lot of, it has a lot of fan interaction. Like you kind of do, in my opinion, as ownership, you owe the fans in the city who are ultimately making this revenue for you. And you need to reward them with keeping star players and keeping them around and giving them something to cheer for. It doesn't mean you have to be a playoff team every year, but at least give the fans something to continue to come out for, in my opinion. And it's just
I agree.
the Pirates. When's the last time the Pirates signed someone to a multi-year deal and had a true star in their city? Same with the Reds. I mean, Joey Votto stuck around because he was a good guy and wanted to be a Cincinnati lifer, but I don't know. I have more problems with the floor is what I'm getting at.
I mean, it's a good point, but the thing is,
you have to spend money if you want to be good, and some owners don't spend money purposefully.
I agree. And there's a lot of these small market teams like you're talking about that don't, because look, these owners can't use the excuse that, well, we're a small market and we don't have the same kind of revenue, because the Kansas City Royals have won a World Series, and they're back on track. They were in the playoffs again last year. They're on track, should be a playoff team this year. Milwaukee has been a pretty good team. Cleveland has obviously been a pretty good organization. They were in the World Series just a few years ago when your Cubs beat them, and they've been a pretty consistent playoff team. So you can win in those markets. It's just an excuse by ownership that they don't want to sink the money. So, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. You need a floor, but if all owners are going to vote for it, the small market owners are not going to agree to a floor if there's not also a cap.
So I think naturally what you can say, though, is the teams like the Dodgers can't poach everyone if at least the Pirates and the Reds grab up teams like that.
Or in the mix. Yeah.
Right, because they are taking away those players, which doesn't give the Dodgers the opportunity just to keep paying everyone out of the wazoo, essentially, right? So it's I think it goes both ways when you're talking about if you're taking away the amount of star players that can be signed to big deals, then the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, they can't just throw their money at them. That's the issue, is if no one's going to take them, why are we getting mad at the Dodgers for just being all right, well, no one else wants to give them money? We'll do this. We'll find a way to get creative and, structure 20-year payments. Those options are out there for everyone. It's just the Dodgers are the only ones with the actual, and the Yankees and others to go out there and make it happen. So again, I agree about the ceiling part, but what really frustrates me is the floor part of it.
Sure. So this last one, the NFL team with a better record, regardless of if they won the division, should host playoff games. So this is the Detroit Lions argument, the proposal that they've voted on this. Brian NY does not like this. He says the division winner should get a home game regardless of, I like this rule. If you're the Vikings and the Lions and you both win you both win 14 games. So you go 14-3. Why should you be penalized over a team that, barely gets to 500 or, is even under 500, just depending, which has happened in the past? Why should a team that wins its division be rewarded for winning a bad division, basically? I like it. Even if you're a wild card team and you've got the better record, the division winner is getting rewarded by being in the playoffs. I don't think you should be rewarded a home playoff game as well.
100% agree.
All right. So I don't think we have to go too much farther on that, unless someone has a really good case, for why they think, that should be. Okay, so those are Chris Russo's ideas. You said you've got a lot of your own that you want to share. My biggest one is the targeting rule in college football. I think they've got to get rid of the targeting rule in college football and just make it a 15-yard penalty. I've talked about this a lot. Just make it a personal foul. Now, if the same guy does it a second time in a game, then you can eject him. But on the first time, I think it should be just a personal foul. No ejection on the first time. That is the biggest thing that I think needs to change. Sounds like you have a lot more. So go ahead.
I like your rule change. I'm gonna start. So I gotta start small with the people, including yourself, before I get into maybe some of my more extravagant proposals. I'll start nice and easy, like a comedian here. Get the crowd nice and warmed up. No more down without contact in college football. Get rid of that.
Oh, okay. So, if you just happen to slip and fall on your own, you shouldn't be down. Someone still has to touch you to be down.
Correct. Change it to that NFL rule. These are elite players. Sometimes you're on bad surfaces, yada, yada, yada. I'm done with it. It's amateur hour. Give me if a guy falls down on their own, who cares? Get back up. You have to be physically touched or tackled by someone.
Salty is saying, Jesse, please, can we start slowly? All right.
You like that one?
It's, again, like wasn't a priority of mine, but I think it makes sense where we are and where the game is right now. There's really no reason that, that rule shouldn't be changed. So yeah, I agree. I like it.
So I got about 3 or 4 more. So just kind of strap in here a little bit.
Back, smoke a cigarette.
Yeah. Next up on my hit list, the NBA needs to reduce games. I'm tired of seeing and yeah, good luck. I understand because of what we were talking about, but I just think it's super unfair for people who kind of plan out games months in advance, spend money, to see a star player, and then these guys feel the need to take a night off, obviously because of physical reasons, and then maybe they expect to go longer in the play, whatever it might be. There is obviously, and maybe a lot of people in the chat and probably a lot of old heads will say, oh, they're just soft, right? Like they just need to suck it up and play more games like they used to back in the day. I just think the game has changed a little bit more. It's a little bit harder on the body. I wouldn't mind seeing a reduction in the schedule if it meant more games played, actual, guaranteed from the players, more games played, because I think it's a disservice to fans to not be there, see their star players play.
Yeah.
In a star-driven league. NBA is such a star-driven league.
Yeah, especially if you want to, like they're adding rounds to the playoffs and all this other stuff with, the play-in, series and all those different things. So, yeah, but it's all about those Benjamins when it comes down to it. I like this. Werewolf says biggest change needs to be get rid of the rules analysts. They're always wrong and nobody wants to hear your 2 cents.
You could go in on this one for a while.
Well, and look, you watched the NCAA tournament. Like, how many times do we need to go to Gene Steratore so that he can tell us which player the ball went off of before it went out of bounds? Like, do we really need a rules analyst telling us that?
Oh, and then
we have eyes, right? We have eyes. We don't need a rules analyst to tell us that. And that's more times than not what the rules analyst ends up explaining is things that we can see with our own eyes. They are 99% useless, I believe.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think the part that frustrates me is they can be blatantly wrong, and everyone, and including the analysts and everyone's like, oh yeah, Gene, that's right. And it's like, no, it's not. Pick out, tell me wrong.
Wayne says digital strike zone, and I mean they're going more towards that. I think that's going to happen.
We'll get there
before too long. Yeah,
we'll get there. I'll save this one because it actually plays into the next question. So that strikes one off the list.
Is there a next? Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. There's one more question at the very end. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I'll save that one. So that means I got 2 left. My first one. In the NFL, if you try to kick a touchback, you have to make it between the uprights. And if you don't make it between the uprights on a touchback, the team gets the ball on the 40-yard line.
Ooh. Man, that's putting the pressure on the kicker.
I saw a proposal that I think it is going to come out to the 35 if there's a touchback. I want to, if you're going to make these new rules, I want to see more returns. And I just don't want to see the ball booted out of the end zone every time. And if you are just going to boot it, I think you should have to strategically place it, because I've seen guys do it before, between the goalposts. So if you want a touchback, that's fine, but you got to make it go through show me a little bit more finesse and skill, basically, right? Like not just
these guys are good enough. They shouldn't be able to just swing away and get rewarded for it.
Just flick it back there and get a touchback, put the pressure on them. And that's the thing. You don't have to go that route. You can, and I think it forces the strategic of, well, let's drop it inside the 5 and make them return it because we don't want to give them the touchback on the 40, right? So, like, that's where I'm at with that. Just put a little bit more. We want all this kicking in the game, and we want teams to, actually return the ball without abolishing kickoff. Just do more things to make it more, intense, in my opinion.
Salty wants to know what Rock Chuck Jayhawk even means. I mean, it's like It makes more sense than War Eagle, doesn't it? I mean, Auburn is, their battle cry is War Eagle, but they're the freaking Tigers. So, I mean, it rhymes. Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk. That's basically how they came up with it. They found something that rhymed with Jayhawk, and they came up with Rock Chalk. So, there you go.
So this is my last one.
Okay.
I think this is the best one. Save the best for last. I hope you like this. I think it would be great. A lot of people are going to yell at me. I don't give a crap. I hope John Christophic is in the chat because he won't like this one.
No
more extra innings. No more extra innings in baseball. Here's how we finish baseball games in the regular season. Hear me out here.
This sounds like something we're going to have to bring back with Vince.
So. Hear me out here. No more extra innings. If a game is tied after the 9th inning, each team selects one batter. You get 5 warm-up pitches, and it's a 10 home run derby pitch situation. Whoever hits the most home runs with 10 pitches wins the game. You pick your batter. You get 5 warm-up pitches. You pick your, maybe your BP coach, whoever it is. You each get 10 cracks. Whoever hits the most home runs wins. We're done in 10, 15 minutes. Everyone loves to see home runs. It's exciting. It's fun. And we get out of there.
I don't hate it, but of course, John has disagreed. It's funny because I was talking to Chuck Freeby and Tim Priester the other day, and we, a couple of local guys who, we've all had, Chuck and I were the last 2 Notre Dame baseball radio announcers, and Tim Priester was a longtime high school baseball coach, and of course he played baseball at Notre Dame. But we were telling extra innings, like old tales of extra innings and things like that when we were, I think it was before the practice that we went in last Saturday, like calling a doubleheader at Rutgers where there's no press box and you sit at ground level behind the backstop with a tarp over you, and it's usually some kind of rain coming down when we used to go to Rutgers. And the second game of a doubleheader it was either 16 or 18 innings. I can't even remember. It's just like that's like the memory of Rutgers. But extra innings games. I don't hate this.
That's what I mean. You can't say you don't hate this. Like this is like everyone is so infatuated with banana ball right now, right? And like whether you like it or not, it's exciting and fans kind of watch it. I think this brings just the slightest kind of little element of banana ball, and everyone's gripe is just no one wants to stay for the extra inning games and the games that take 3 to 6 extra innings. You're there for at least an hour or two. The players don't want it. They're already playing 162 regular season games. Just it's an exciting way to end a game, in my opinion. And I think it's fair too. Just because you got Aaron Judge doesn't mean he's just going to swat him out every time. Like everyone's got a star slugger on their team, and everyone would imagine all the fans in the outfield going crazy. It's like you catch a home run ball, it's a free ticket to get a hot dog on your way out of the stadium or something, like you could do so many fun things with it to kind of, again, and find a way to end obviously exciting game. And this is regular season. I don't think this should apply to postseason because there's obviously higher stakes.
Right.
But regular season, each team averages 10 to 15 extra inning games. What better way to get 10, 15 innings of just home run derby?
But the other side of this, and I know traditionalists obviously hate the current extra innings rule that they have where you start with a runner at second base. But I mean, they really have sped up extra innings by doing that, by just starting with the runner at second base. And you're actually
this is
playing
so
baseball.
much more fun.
You're not just, and they've, I know in the minor leagues, they experimented with the home run derby ending before.
See, everyone's talking about get rid of the ghost runner, the run. That's the opposite direction. They're not going to slow things back down. That's kind of my whole point of this thing is like, you're not going to go back to traditional rules by any means. It's they want to find a way to speed things up and be kind of more exciting, action-packed fun. And I mean, everyone loves home runs, and you get a free home run derby with the star of the team to end the game. I don't know. It just sounds pretty sweet to me.
Like I said, I don't hate it, but I don't think that enough people. I don't think that you could get the right people to go for it for Major League Baseball.
No, and I think the ultimately is I like sports like hockey and soccer that eventually just end in a shootout. I think all professional sports in the regular season should end in some sort of shootout fashion at the end of the day. Like maybe in basketball, it's a 3-point competition because that's the thing in the NBA. Maybe in football, we've talked about this before. Maybe you line up the kicker at the 20, then the 25, and then the 30. You have like a kickoff in the regular season in order to finish it. In my opinion, baseball version of that is a freaking 10-pitch home run derby, baby. I want to see Kyle Tucker and Aaron Jones just go mano a mano and try to hit as many home runs as possible.
Wayne says play baseball with only 3 infielders and 2 outfielders. That's basically like back at like many, many years ago when I was, still playing softball, and we would go out on Friday nights and we would be in these tournaments on the weekend, and we would show up at 8, we'd always get the first game of the day, it seemed like, on Saturday. So everyone's hungover and, everything else rolling out there. And we would, we'd have like 8 guys, so we're starting a game with 2 guys in the outfield in a softball game, where obviously you usually have 4 outfielders out there. That was always a lot of fun. So that's basically kind of the rules that they're talking about. All right. Do you want to do this last one or you want to save it?
That's up to you.
All right. Let's just do it because we're talking about rules changes. The NFL's doing they're going to go to a camera-based technology system to measure first downs. Vince is out on this.
Of course.
Are you in or out?
I'm in, and I'll even add more to it. One of the things that was going to be on my previous list, I think the NFL should use basically a VAR / kind of tennis system to determine situations where a plane has been broken. I think that's the best way to describe this. Consider every plane that comes into controversy during football games: touchdown plane, out of bounds plane, and first down plane. You should be able to see with technology, it's like, I know you don't watch a ton of soccer, but they have basically, you can see if a plane has been broken for offsides. And in tennis, you can see if the plane has been broken for in or out. It's the easiest way to determine these things, least amount of controversy, and it has the most consistency. 10 yards is 10 yards. Touchdown plane is touchdown plane. Out of bounds plane is out of bounds planes. There's no more subjectivity to it. It is all analytical, and that's what's going to drive people crazy. They need that human element. They need chain gang. They need referees out there. We're beyond that. We've
chain
advanced.
gang is stupid. It's 2025. Vince wants the chain gangs. He's like, the chains need to be a part of it. John apparently is with him. So we just need to go back to wearing leather helmets because nobody wants change in football. I'm with Christopher. I think my head hurts as well after listening to all that with Jesse. I mean, I think that's basically the gist of what they're going to do with this. There's like 8 different cameras from what I saw, and they're all, like this high-tech technology. And I think that's basically what they're going to do. Like that's the system that they're still going to have the chains out there kind of as a fail-safe backup, but it's all going to be this digital technology. And I'm looking forward to it. Like, why shouldn't we have it when all these other sports, like you're talking about, tennis and soccer specifically, they have it? There's no reason football should have to drag out a chain and measure by links, 10 yards when they've got the technology to do this, right down to the millimeter.
How many times basically I've seen Dak Prescott try to jump over a pile and they say he doesn't get a first down when it's like very obvious he's broken the plane. Like, that's all you got to do is drop a line with some technology and see if he crossed it. I'm tired of these referees making these decisions that they clearly can't consistently make.
Right. When, because the TV, the regular TV camera angles, you don't always see where the ball is.
Right.
So that's why it's always so inconclusive, even though it's pretty obvious based on the way a guy is holding the ball and, how much of his body gets over, like you're talking about, should be obvious. And with this technology, they're supposed to be able to nail it. So I'm looking.
I guess I don't understand if you are a true fan and you want the most honest, accurate, fast outcomes. Like, this is the thing; it's going to speed up the game too. We no longer have to wait and see if they, watch all these clips. They're going to drop a line, and with technology, just be able to see if they cross it and call it good. Like you get sped up game, you get faster, more consistent results. It helps. I mean, you want your team to get the right call in that situation. It might go against you, but in the situations where you really want it, it's going to be more rewarding, in my opinion.
Yeah, DK says it's still going to come down to where it was when he's down. Yeah, but still, with the technology, they're going to know where it was when he was down. It's not going to be that hard to figure out. So I think it's great that they're doing this. Chain gangs, throw them away. Don't need it.
DK looks like he used to work on a chain gang.
All right. Well, going back to the Olivia Miles thing, I forgot that I started this one up. Wayne Miller said AZ Fudd staying at UConn for a 5th year. She is, but no one's making a big deal about it the way they are with Miles, right? Like Miles is, staying and transferring and getting the big bag of money. Shaquille Oatmeal. Speaking about remakes, how about Back to the Future? Robert Downey as Doc and Tom Holland as Marty McFly. Interesting. Did you ever? Go ahead.
Not much of a remake, but I can't wait for Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah, that's going to become. Is it coming out this summer? Do you know when it's coming out? I think
it is this summer.
Looking for. There's some good stuff. We've got the latest Bourne movie is coming out. We got a new Mission Impossible coming out next month. I'm pretty excited about both of those. Looking forward to it. Even though Vince apparently has never seen any of those movies, either Mission Impossible or Bourne. Somehow he's managed to go 30 years and never see any of those movies. 44, I guess, when you actually count his age.
Unfortunately, no one has seen the amount of movies you've seen. Or remember them. That's the other part.
People who have seen more than me, I'm sure.
But the way you remember them is the crazy. I can't even remember what I did 2 weeks ago, let alone a movie you probably watched 10 years ago.
It's probably true. All right, well, that's going to do it for tonight. Appreciate all the questions. Great stuff in the mailbag. Be looking out tomorrow and see if Notre Dame picks up a commitment, because if they do, Brian Driscoll and I will be here on this show talking about it, and we've got rapid fire promised still as well on tomorrow's show. So we've got all that going for us. Hit the like button before you leave, and thank you very much for the reminder, Brent, and we will talk to you tomorrow on IB Nation Sports Talk.